respect. Good thing. Respect, respect, respect. Much love, peace, energy, energy, energy. All right, collectively, I really got up here to get some energy out. Let y'all know about some things in the first. Not just be like telling you. However, there is a point of getting some energy on you. Let you know some things. All right, so I'm coming out of this book. It's called A to Z. Turn this thing around for a second. So you know. A to Z horoscope maker and delineator. Alright. Let's see what the light is. I guess I need to put right on. Put the light on this thing. No light. I can't. Don't see a light up here for you. Apologize about that. Look, let's see what we got here. Alright. How to change resonant affects the horoscope. Now, and then a student inquires whether it is proper to make the progress chart from the tables of houses from the native's present place of abode instead of for the place of birth. It is not practical to substitute house cusp of present abode for those to place of birth, because the further away the native has removed, the larger the number of degrees difference it would make to the house cusp. And when tabulating aspects in the progress chart, it must be borne in mind that each degree is equal to 1 month by the moon's motion, and 1 degree is equal to 1 year in the sun's motion. I'm going to stop right there for a second. That's explaining when you always hear this story about the Jesus and he's sitting with the 12 disciples and they're at this table and they're at this Last Supper aspect, is letting you know, like they say about a clock, right? The clock can be always right at least twice a day, even if it's broken. So in the aspect of saying that a certain time of the day, the truth is going to come out and it's unfolding, just like how we look at this 12 disciple sitting at the Last Supper. Last Supper will be like saying the starting of a day, the ending of another so-called what we call a day. So in 12 hours or 24 hours, we wouldn't look at our aspects as much as the greatest amount of us. However, just to go through this and look at it from a 12 in diameters, meters, centimeters, we use 12 as a dozen. And so just looking at the sun and the moon, you are opposition of self. So when you're learning about the sun cycle, it's going through all the moon's motions just as much as we're supposedly going around the sun. And so this moon is going around us. And so now, how much of the degrees are you really aware of? All right, so with that being the case, the Jesus aspect is just like saying this moon is in every cycle with the sun. And those cycles of with the sun is getting your my sun energy. And so now we're learning our highest point in the principle of you having birth. You have a trine. You're basically came through your mother, your father, and yourself to learn how your placement value is. So when you learn what's the shadow of yourself, you learn how to get rid of certain things. So this is why I'm reading this to you in the first place. This process of changing cusp would therefore change lunar aspects. Now, when we think of lunar, like the moon, if you look up the word moon in a different text, it means sin. So when people say, oh, we're sinning, well, no, it's basically saying, oh, you're showing your feminine side to things. And now you got to learn what's masculine, what's feminine as a principle before it became a gender. All right. So aspects to this cusp by several months, solar aspects by several years, making the aspect fall due earlier or later. Now, when you think about that, like from one year to the next, like right now, it seems like we're going ahead in years. But if we put next year, last year compared to this year, we will be going backwards in the time frame. Like the days that we're going ahead, we're going back. And that's what we're not knowing. So let's say, okay, so right now it's April, and we're going from April to May. Well, we started in March, going into April, we started going back. And so now that we went past April, we're going back into March, coming into May, which is kind of deep when we're going backwards in the time frame of speeding up time, but yet not looking at time of ourselves. So that's why this is important to learn your lunar, and we're getting ready to go into what it's just saying right now. Solar aspects by several years, making the aspect fall due earlier or later according to whether the native has been removed north or south of birthplace. That is according to whether there would be a larger or smaller number of degrees on the cusp by change. If the native has moved from the birthplace, making the chart the latitude of present residence changing lunar, the person may be but a few hours time distance removed from birth, from place of birth. Usually the radical latitude of that birthplace makes a difference in the falling due of aspect of only a few hours, i.e. difference in the time between place of birth and present residence. The time would be earlier or later, according to whether native had moved east or west of birthplace. The difference of a few hours is a slight importance, which one considers that is very difficult to manner to a set particular day in operation of progress aspect, especially those who influence last a month or much more, such as a moon conjunction, ascendant or sun sextile, the mid-center, as the influence began to exert an effect from 4 to 8 weeks prior to the actual completion of the aspect by the moon, or many months by the sun. And then you got the visual 2 degrees orbit in 2 years with the sun. So when you think of 2 years, 2 days, 2 hours, this is how this plays a different part in how we think. Like I can have you go back 2 years, and just like how a woman compared to a man, a woman is 2 years ahead of a man, the aspect. Now that's like, if we knew really what our progressing is and how we progress in life, you'll see that there's things that we do as a man to as what a woman would do, not just even talking about gender. It would be the principles before the gender. All right, so the progress chart requires the natural progress of the house cusp, just as it does of the planets. At the moment of birth, the planets have house positions according to the latitude of the birthplace. At the first independent indrawn breathe of the babe, the prevailing vibration casts or set the tendencies of the body according to those house positions, as well as the aspect and the signs occupied by the planets. Those particular house positions of the planets at the same time are time markers. Now, usually you forget stuff, and then somehow your memory just kicks back in certain things, and it's because of these planets. Basically, like you're connected to certain magnets and certain type of crystals, and so they're helping with what we call a time marker. All right, so of certain conditions will appear in the life of that individual. Thus, if basically the planet is, I think that's Capricorn actually. Capricorn is 3 degrees below the ascending degree and is the ruler of the 6th house its position in relation to the ascendant denotes that when the ascendant has advanced 3 degrees, it will be conjunction with the same Saturn, denoting illness. So now, what one can help with, one can also get hurt by. So think about how oppositions day and night. That's why the supper, the aspect for eating the supper aspect, what would that be helpful for? Or is it helpful to eat during day food, or day and night food? Let me go over here where the light at. Over here acting up. My phone acting up. I haven't set this timer thing up yet. Where is it at? Oh, it wasn't even on that side yet. Okay, so okay, so that's okay. I said the degrees ascendant. Okay, illness. That is due to the planetary rays as affecting that particular latitude at the birthplace, certain force or time for manifestation, and those times can only be calculated by use of the original latitude from which the native received its cast. Planets thus affecting the angles of a chart are said to be more productive of manifestation than thus of other cusps, because the angles are more active, producing more noticeable and quicker action than the other cusps. Although it is not practical to substitute house cusps, a present abode, for those of place of birth, it can be well to use the cusp made for the present abode as a supplement for investigation, assuming you have moved from the birth latitude to whatever or not to such chart that indicates the indications to cusp is any way coincide or conflict with the testimonies indicated by the house cusp of the original progress chart latitude. Now, so that's basically saying if you're able to advance while you're in, a way of your thinking of birth, like you don't have to say that you're just living off of one zodiac in you. That's why it's called like a zodiacus. You have a whole wheel of yourself. So in degrees, you'll see difference of your like child awakeness state mind. Like we all start from ground zero as a degree. All right. So for instance, suppose a child were born in latitude 52 degrees north with second 0 degrees, 27 degrees on the ascendant, and the Capricorn and 3 degrees and 27 degrees. Second is like a Saturn, is it? And let's just skip the degrees part. We're gonna go on that later because it gets kind of tricky. What I wanted you to know about was the new locality. The foregoing comments on change in residence are concerned with the reason for substituting the latitude of the usual progress horoscope for that of new latitude to which the native may have removed. We cannot evade the duly timed operations of nature, which were cast or timed at birth to manifest in certain periods of life, but removing to a more suitable environment may help to improve our expression of the influence of aspect as they occur, so that one place may seem to be luckier, more comfortable, more fortunate than the other. Now that's explaining to you travel, you get to a certain place and say, okay, well, maybe I need to be over here instead of just seeing if I could thicket it out where I'm at, and it's not working out for your benefit. The usual procedure in the cast of removal is as follows. Note the amount of time difference between the birthplace, the new abode. Add this amount of time the birthplace is removal to the east of birthplace. Subtract the amount if removal is west. When the new time then arrive, mark a chart in the usual way the latitude of new abode for the house cusp, but insert the planet in the same signs of the degrees occupied in the original birthplace. This will change the position of the planets that are of particular significance in the new environment, as the house shows the direction in which the zodiacal tendencies and the planetary influences manifest. The importance of the changed house position is obvious. For instance, if Jupiter is this moved into the midhaven, the new environment is likely to improve the honors, credit, prestige, and professions of the native. If Saturn has became tenant of the sixth house, the native health is apt to be impaired. All right, so I'm gonna stop there, and then because I could go all day on the latitude. Okay, so let's get into Aries. Aries is called fiery, hot, dry, inflammatory, choleric, sterile, violent, bestial, in temperament, equinoctial, Eastern cardinal, movable, positive, masculine, mental, motive, and of short ascension. Aries is the first or head of the zodiac and is known to have influence upon the head and face. The sun enters the sign on or about the 21st of March each year, consisting the vernal ingress. While it is in this eastern sign we celebrate so-called Easter, which Esther or Ashtar, this is where you get the Gilgamesh and the Enkidu connection. But we find out about Ishtar, same thing as Athena. All of this is that formulated of the woman's connection to Easter. So, and it is usually observed by wearing new headgear. So usually they may not be aware of it. Everyone who follows the fashion of donning a new hat at this time is paying homage to astrology of the ancients. Gospels say, I have exalted the old so-called mother or father. And in the sign, the sun is exalted, particularly in the 19th degree, if it is the fall of Saturn or Saturn. For the Lord of houses is exalted. It is the detriment of Venus being a lustful sign. Aries has been represented by the cock, denoting boastful or fighting qualities, but is generally symbolized by the ram, being in nature rash, hardy, stringy, lascivious, and combative. Aries represents the gate of gold, or the east, therefore called an oriental sign, denoting the beginning of right ascension, or a Ra, or original from right ascension, midhaven, Ram, RAM. So when you get Ra and the M, midhaven, right? And you get Ra, you get right ascension, right? Okay. Abbreviation. Break it down now. In the New Testament, it probably answers to Mark. And you hear the word Mar, and then the K is the actual spirit, Ka. K. Ka. All right. The new ascribed to Eastern angle Oh yeah, and Mars still connected to Uranus backwards. And you know you got Ra still there again as the R. Alright, okay. Alright, so the new ascribed to the eastern angle or angel, there we go, is Makildale. While of the 12 prophets, it is said to represent Malachi. Of the 12 apostles, Matthias. And so stars in Aries constellations are Shedar, the freed, Rukba, and Dat al-Kursa, the throne, the seated. The first deacon is Cassiopeia. Now, if you know about Cassiopeia, I've been looking up this word, and it's connected to Opia. So you see that Opia connection, Iopia, and Cassie. It's like basically two connections in that word put together. And like the cornucopia, you see the horn and fruit that come out of it. So there's a lot about Cassiopeia. That name is really strong. All right, so anyway, a beautiful enthroned woman at whose right hand is a star-crowned king, Cepheus, holding his scepter toward her. Ancient writing account her as his wife, and she is referred to as the bride, the Lamb's wife. Cassiopeia is represented as the mother of Andromeda, who consists a nearby constellation. The broken chains represent deliverance. Cetus, a monster constellation to the south of the ecliptic, represents the second deacon. It is Leviathan of Job and Isaiah. It is a gigantic scaly beast with enormous head, mouth and front paws, with the body and tail of a whale. In mythology, it is the creature with the sea god sent to devour Andromeda. It is a downward southern constellation bordering on what was called the lower regions, Myra. One of its stars is a variable typical of the seed. Its name means the rebel. Cetus is bound, brittle, to the two fish, while the lamb holds the reins with one front foot or hand. Minkar, another star, means the chained enemy, while the fighter in the tail means the overthrown, the thrust down. Read Job 41. And note in 13th verse the reference to the double bridle or brittle. Then see the star map. See also Isaiah 27 verse 1. These references are quoted to show that there is much of astrological interest in the Bible. Perseus represents the third deacon, side piece, or constellation. It is the figure of a vigorous, strong man with one foot in the Milky Way, both feet having wings, a helmet on his head, while holding high a great sword, while carrying away the blood-dripping head of the Gorgon. Paris, with the original name for Perseus, meaning the breaker, mentioned in Micah 2, verse 13. The breaker is come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate. And if you think of in Asgard, they had this in Thor. Which one was it? Might have been Ragnarok. No, it was. Or was it Ragnarok? I think it was Ragnarok. Yeah, in Ragnarok. All right. So and are gone out of it, and their king shall pass before them, and the Lord of the head of them. The star in the left foot of Perseus is Attic, he who breaks. The bones indicated by Aries are those of the skull and face, except perhaps the nasal, which that connects to Taurus, and also Scorpio, which may be sub-ruled by Scorpio. Okay. The muscles indicate are frontals, occipitals, attalins, and depremens, articularium, zygomaticus, temporalis, and buccinatara. Buccinatara. I gotta look that one up. Okay, arteries, temporal and internal carotid, veins, cephalic, said that name wrong. Morbid action is shown through various kinds of eruptive maladies affecting head and face, whelks, pimples, ringworms, polypus, neuralgia, headaches, migraines, cerebral congestion, alopecia, pharyngitis, vertigo, encephalitis, smallpox, and perhaps hair lip. Worry, anxiety, excitement, or anger produces overstrain of the brain and tend to upset the general health. Aries develop. Aries people require plenty of rest and sleep, peaceful and harmonious surroundings. They should partake freely of vegetables and brain food, avoiding supplements, partaking lightly of meat. Herbs belonging to this sign are mustard, eyebright, bay, and others of pungent nature. The principles, characteristics of desire and nature for cultivation are expressed and enterprising, active, ambitious, courageous, ardent, industrious, generous, pioneering, practical, constructive leadership. Undesirable characteristics for corrective or denoted by the words belligerent, headstrong, excitable, audacious, impatient, irresolable, imprudent, insubordinate, quarrelsome, foolhardy, selfish, disregard, disrespect, jealousy. All strainable traits can be corrected by proper mental therapeutic. Basically, meditate. Some of all the popular expressions associated with the sign are all head up, mad as a March hare, budding ski, ram it home, out of the frying pan into the fire, Gabby, up and doing, strong as iron. Where did we go? Where did you get that hat? A bee in his bonnet, right between the eyes, fighting mad, in like a lamb and out like a lion, mad as a hatter. God tempers the wind to the shorn lamb. My hat is in the ring. God to his head, shearing the lamb. Words associated with Aries: ash, lesh, flaming star, Tuesday, fighting cock, Smith, Samuel, ram, lamb, Heaton, Mark, Mars, March, Malkidal, Malachi, Matthias, Melchizedek, Sang, herb. Sang is a herb. Taylor, sacrificial lamb. Rama, which is the exalted place. Ramesses, the head in the land of Egypt, which they call Sertepera what is it? Sertepera Mariamin. Yeah, Sertepera Mariamin. Ramesses. Okay, so Ramadan, Musulman feast in spring. Benjamin, Rachel, and Amru. Aries indicates sandy, hilly, dry, or rather barren places where sheep are kept, lime or brick kilns, fireplaces, ceilings, plaster, tool houses, forges, locations, prominent corner buildings facing east, and the east corner rooms. Now, of course, I can go further, however, I choose not to. Yeah, I'm gonna choose not to. That's what we're gonna do is we're gonna just continue this conversation on the other side, the flip side. You know what I mean? Because I know we're like, dang man, he did all that. Now I'm over here listening to all this stuff, and it got nothing to do with what we were just doing. Yeah, it actually has everything to do with it. It's actually called connected. And so we're gonna find out how to use our connection time to our location of ourself. This is why we want to see how we use our own marks, our own Aries energy. Because our next conversation we'll be having will be about Taurus. And once we talk about Taurus, you'll see why I even brought up about Aries. And of course, we said, man, why you wanted to talk about Aries without bringing up the other signs? Well, maybe this is our time to start talking about all the signs, and we're going to do it piece by piece, so that way we can help each other out. I know that if we can at least go by certain things, like you just heard in there, Aries have to deal with certain kind of foods. It'll help you out, and then especially if you have a certain season that you have Aries in your chart, you can look that up. And then also Libra on this oppositional scale. You know, you might find out how they relate. Had high blood pressure at 16, so giving you another way of looking at yourself without saying, I know about myself, you ain't got to tell me nothing. Well, nobody don't have to tell you anything. You can just find out for yourself and still learn while you find out. There's nothing wrong with learning and relearning. Okay, so while we're there with that aspect, I just want you to look at this one thing. Now, this is a chart that they showed us that we didn't really pay attention to from our 9th house going into the 10th house. Usually the first house, that's why this was important to learn this first, how you start out in your first house. Which first house do you really originate in? And then, of course, there is going into your second house. So that's why this is important too, but we ain't going to talk about this yet. Even though you can see in there, it's talking about, what, that's finances? Well, I need to know about that. So your possessions, your finance, and your prospects. But first we had to get into your nativity, your personality, your disposition. You know, because certain things that we're doing in our life cause us to like to feel that we're at a block, and we need to see how we unblock it. And we'll figure it out. We're all here. We're all gonna help each other. That's why we ain't going nowhere till we help each other. You know, take some time. You might have to take some time out just to learn what I'm over here showing you. Just screenshot these pieces though, you know what I mean? Just put it to yourself, look at it a little bit more detailed, blow that jank up a little bit, take some time and looking at it. You know, look at all what's going on up in there, because this also is included into, you know, your zodiac. When they say, oh, this your zodiac, then okay, this your zodiac, this is also connected to, this is also, and this is also. So now you have what's coming from the world, right? And what's also on a planetary type thing coming outside of the world. So it kind of gives you more of an insight to how, you know, you from different areas of the star constellation just as much as you're from the planet constellation. And then you find out how your planets and your stars really work for you or don't work for you. You know? But that's how this became this destiny. And when you think about astrologists, more like a mathematician. That's why I didn't go into the numbers with you, because I know it would have been like, oh, I'm stuck where I'm at. Well, I'm not gonna do that to you yet. Not yet. I give you some time to really still see yourself. Let me learn me. I know you gotta learn you. However, the numbers really can explain it to you more easier and more profound. Because the numbers explain the lines. Think about lines. The lines are what's being shown to us. The lines are actually showing you how they're the markers. And of course, what we got the stars actually teach us the North Gate star constellation. Where we come from. So we got Pisces right here. This would be the star of Aries. Just keep going around doing drink. Nope. Okay, so this is not Aries. This is Capricorn. So there's 11 and there's a 10 somewhere. I guess he's right there pouring out the water towards me. 10, so 12. Yeah, he's on top of the fish. So 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, the twins, on that horse, Pegasus. There you go. I just showed you the whole map of yourself, but at the same time, this is the inside, the Ophiuchus that no one talks about, and the beaver, or the bear, Orion's belt, Tommy Wata for other people. All right, we're going to talk soon. I'll let y'all get y'all recharge on like I need to get mine now. Love y'all. Mer energy. Chi to yourself. Yo, that chi is your key. So keep your breath going. Your breath going as your breath. Don't just be brief about it. Meditate. Love y'all. Respect.